We hear it all of the time that content is king. And while this might be the case, it doesn't mean that creating content is the first step in the process, especially if you're using your content to drive more sales to your offers, your products, and your services. So this episode is the first one of a 4-part series where I'm taking you behind the scenes on how I plan my content to maximize sales and save time while doing so. So are you ready to learn the first step to take before you start creating content that sells? Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive right in. Hey, I'm Lucy Reyes, your host of the Cheerful Productive Chats podcast, where I'm on a mission to help online entrepreneurs like you focus on all the right things and kiss overwhelm goodbye. Here, you're going to learn strategies that will boost your productivity so that you can scale your online biz and impact lives sooner. It's your time to shine, so let's get started. Hey friend, welcome back to the Cheerful Productive Chats podcast. Now, I was planning this episode, I was outlining it, and then it got really long. I started to realize that, oh no, this is going to be a much longer episode than I typically like these episodes to be because, we're all about productivity here, we're all about little time boost here and there. And so I decided to break this down into a 4-part series. But before I get there, let me give you a little bit of context as to how this episode even came about and why it became as long as it did. So I decided, and I have lately realized that I do need to spend more time marketing. I am a creator. I absolutely love to create products and all of the things for my members, for my students. But then I get stuck in there. I've noticed that I like to get stuck in there. I love to teach, and then I am not growing my list. I am not growing my following. I'm not getting new eyeballs on my stuff, that all of the things that I'm creating. And so as entrepreneurs, as online business owners, we really have to put ourselves out there. We really have to market our stuff for new people to find us. So I've lately realized that that is something that I have to do better at myself. Now that we're going into the second quarter, right? Because the first quarter is literally about to end. We're in the last week of the first quarter. It is time to really figure out what we're going to do in these next few months. Times have definitely changed in the online space. I hear from a lot of my business friends that it is just not the same. And in order for you to be able to stay competitive and to continue reaching new people, you have to put yourself out there. You have to market yourself. Now, if you want to learn how to review this previous quarter, then go back and listen to episode 5 where I share some tips on how to review your previous quarter. But these next few episodes are going to be all about helping you plan for the next few months, for the next quarter ahead, okay? And we're going to do this by doing a couple of different things. I'm taking you behind the scenes on how I do things, what my process essentially looks like, and how I have really committed to repurposing this year. So last year I said I was going to repurpose, and I fell short on that goal. After doing my annual review, I was like, yeah, that did not happen. And I was not about to let me go through that again and say oh yeah, I'm going to repurpose and then not do it. So I have really been on top of my repurposing game this year, which I am super proud of, which is something that we will cover on the 4th episode of this 4-part series. Okay. But in this one, I really want to talk about the first step that you do before creating content, because you don't just want to dive in and start creating content without knowing what your overall plan is. This is something that is so incredibly important, and I feel like it's a step that a lot of people skip over, or they just rush through it because they feel like they're not doing anything. So if you're like me and you love to create and you love to do, then sitting there and sitting with your thoughts and trying to strategize and trying to think might feel like it's not productive. It might feel like you're not doing anything. And so you might just rush through it because you're feeling unproductive. So you just give yourself 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to quickly figure out oh, this is going to be my plan. All right, done. And then your plan starts to fail. You don't keep up with it. There's so many things. And then you're left feeling why didn't it work? What is wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with you, okay? But we could definitely improve on your planning skills if that is something that you feel like you resonate with. So in this episode, we're going to talk about planning first. I'm not talking about planning your content, though that is important and that is something that we'll cover in one of the later episodes. But we are going to be talking about planning your sales and promotions first. Before you can plan out your content, if you are a service provider, a coach, a digital product creator, a course creator, if you have a product or service to sell, then the first thing you want to do is figure out when you're going to sell that stuff. You want to figure out when you're going to sell your offers throughout the year, throughout the quarter. So let me explain how I do this. This is my process, okay? So my process is I do this on an annual basis. So I use my Annual at a Glance planner. It's a Trello board. If you're listening to this in real time, it will be added to the shop soon, so stay tuned. In that training, I go much more in detail about what I'm about to share. But basically, I use this Annual at a Glance Trello board to help me get a high level overview of everything that I want to do for that year. I do this in a way where it's just that. It's just an overview. It's just letting me know like this is somewhat what I want to do. And I really like doing this in Trello because as we're about to talk about, my plans change all of the time. And so I'm able to easily move the dates around and see it on the calendar as it changes. And so I really stick to this as just a high level overview. Nothing is set in stone, but at least it gives me a starting point. At least it gives me an overview, an idea of where I'm trying to go, where I'm headed, and the big projects that I want to really ensure that I do not miss out on. So when I'm using this planner, here are some of the things that I plan and that I make sure that I include inside of this calendar power up inside of this Trello board. I am checking to see if I've already committed to anything. So if I've already committed to someone else's bundle or summit or another type of collaboration with someone, then I am checking that first and making sure that that is added to my calendar. If I have committed, like I am giving you my all, I want to make sure that I give you as the host the attention that you deserve. And so I will check to see, do I have any commitments already? And if so, I need to plug those in because that lets me know I should probably not plan around these things or plan like some massive thing. Like sometimes I'll do little sales here and there, but not like one big, huge event. Now, the second thing is I then start to plan out what my events will be, whether it's a big launch of my own or my own collaborative event. So whether I'm hosting a bundle or a summit, that is something that I am looking at, or a challenge, or like the Savvy Sampler Pass that I had a few months ago. What are the big launches that I am going to host to launch my products or services? Now, I don't have to know what that is going to be. I typically just plan out like what the launch period is going to be. And I know like, okay, I'm going to have this date from this date, I'm going to launch this, which means 2 weeks back, I'm in like this pre-launch period of trying to get my audience to go to the free event, whatever that free event is going to be. Or for some of you, it might be a paid event, like a small paid challenge. Whatever the case is, I start to plug those dates into the calendar. And I do this, again, for the whole year. If you're starting now, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and keep going on from Q2 all the way to Q4. The next thing that I look at are some national holidays or some like special birthdays or anniversaries or anything that's personal to me or my business. And I see if there's a way that I can plan a promotion around those, because personally for me, those are more fun. I like those the best out of everything that I do, is if it's very centered around a theme, and especially if that theme is something that's very special to me. So I like to do themes like Christmas. If you are listening to this in real time, I'm in the middle of my Spring into Action extravaganza, which is an Easter theme. And that one has been super fun. I'm not going to get into what it is, but I have had so much fun hosting that event. And, you know, sometimes I'll do like birthdays. I mean, you'll see it all the time when someone turns 30, they're like 30% off coupon for 24, 48 hours or whatever the case is, right? And so those are just fun ways to have like an excuse, a reason to make a sale or offer. Not that you need one. You absolutely never need like an excuse or a reason. Like you can just have a sale just to have a sale. But I do find that it makes it a little bit more fun, at least for me. So that's another thing that I'll look at. And then I'll plan some of those in. So just to kind of give you a sneak peek at what might be coming, I have my son who's turning 11 in May, and then I have my daughter who's turning 3 in June. So I am trying to brainstorm some fun themed promotions around then. And so stay tuned to see what happens from that. The next thing that I will do from there is that's like the main 3 things that I like to plan out in advance. And then I keep the rest kind of open to whatever may come up in the months ahead. So I don't make this schedule or this plan super rigid. I just really want to have like the main big things on the calendar, some specific dates blocked off, and then me knowing that this could potentially change, but I want to stick to this as much as possible. My stuff changes all the time though. We'll get into that. But that is what I do. And then the rest of the dates, I kind of keep them open and I just evaluate it on a month-to-month basis. As invitations come through, I'm always getting invited to bundles or summits, and I'll evaluate, I'll look at my calendar and see if it's something that I can do, if it's something that I want to do that makes sense. And then I'll add that in, or I'll choose not to add it in. I also have a shop, the Cheerful Productivity Shop. So that has a lot of different products, which also gives me a lot of room and a lot of space and a lot of different types of offers and promotions that I can run for these specific products because it's in a shop. It's super easy. I don't have to create a massive sales page for it or anything. And so I will run sales to those as well to kind of fill in some of those spots if I don't have like something really big planned for a given week or a given month. I also might see like an opportunity for some of those shiny squirrel opportunities that come up. Like I am a big shiny squirrel person. Like I definitely like to jump on trends. I like to see what is happening in real time, and I will definitely try to force myself to get something done if I want to. My systems absolutely let me do that. So if you don't have systems in place, like shiny scrolling is definitely not something that will become easy and naturally to you. But that's one reason why I love systems, because it does let you kind of have fun and just be in the moment with a lot of the stuff. And so I will keep an eye out for any of those types of opportunities. If anyone is looking for a last minute collaborative event and it actually makes sense for me, I have the space for it, then I'll take that on. And so I'll really leave some space on my calendar to give me some room to play with some of those dates and just kind of do whatever I want. So while I have like the big things planned out, I also give myself a lot of room to just have fun in the moments and do whatever the heck I want to do. Like that is one of the joys of being an entrepreneur, right? Is that you are your own boss. So I absolutely love that. And so I do all of this inside of my annual at a glance planner, which is my high level overview board. If you want to grab that, then stay tuned. It's not ready yet, but it will be coming out this week. So keep an eye out for it. And also, if you want a little bit more help on how to actually do this, and you have no idea where to even start, then this is definitely something that we can cover and go over and really work through together during my VIP half day. So that way we can plan out what your sales are going to be. And then all of the steps that we're going to talk about later in this podcast series, we can talk about that as well. So that is like the overview of how and what I plan. And all of this, like I mentioned, helps me stay flexible with all of my promotions, which honestly does have its pros and cons. I'm going to be very honest. Like it's not all handy dandy, it's not all exciting and good and all of that. So let's cover, I have my list here in front of me. Let's cover the cons first. Let's do the negative and then let's end on a positive note. So one of the biggest cons that definitely comes out of my incredibly flexible promotional calendar is the fact that I don't give my affiliates plenty of notice. And that is something that I am still trying to work to do better on. I am really going to try to see if I can figure out how I'm going to kind of set some more things in stone to give them an advance notice for. But that is one of the cons, if I'm being super honest. It's the fact that because I am so flexible with my promotional content calendar, I have an army of affiliates, but I don't give them plenty of notice to allow them to schedule time to promote my stuff. Even though they want to, they probably already have something else planned. So that is definitely one of the biggest cons that you want to take into consideration when you're planning out your promotion calendar and sticking to it. Another thing is that it leads to a much bigger to-do list most of the time, because I am someone who likes to take on big projects. I like the challenge, and I am really good at creating Trello systems for myself. My OBM tells me all the time, like, Lucy, like, slow down. I'm like, no, like, I got it. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm literally fine. I rely heavily on my systems to help me be okay when I tackle on more projects. But at the end of the day, it's still a bigger to-do list in a shorter amount of time, which if I was a little bit more on the rigid side or structured side, then I would have a little bit more space and more time to get the task done, right? So that's another con. And then the last con that I have is that it sometimes does push back some of those bigger sales, launches, promotions that I've had. So for example, this year, my summit that I had planned, I had originally planned it for March. Well, March is now over and I'm not hosting a summit. And then I had moved it to April, and then I moved it to May. And then I was like, yeah, no, it's going to happen in September. And that is my final cutoff. Like, I cannot move it even further. But sometimes that happens because I start to take on other stuff. I start to take on new projects, new shiny squirrel, like the Spring into Action extravaganza. That is an example of one that I was like, not planning at all. But then there was a course that came out. I'll link to it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. I want to do this for Easter. I can already vision it now, which made me take only 2 weeks to get it all done. And so that pushed out some of the promotions that I had. And I'm okay with that. But like I said, it doesn't allow me to give plenty of time and notice to my affiliate. So those are the cons to like being super flexible with your promotions. But here are some pros to keeping it flexible, okay? It's not all bad. Some of the pros include that you're not constricted. I know one of the fears of many people is that if you're planning or if you have systems in place, that it's going to keep you so rigid that you can't do anything else and you feel like you have to stick to that plan. And that's not true. Especially if you are using a project management tool like Trello, it makes it super, super easy for you to stay flexible and to move things around as you need to. So no, you don't actually have to stay constricted, and you are able to jump on those trends as they come out. As something feels exciting to you, that's the best time to do something, to be honest. Like if you are like, oh my gosh, I want to do it, but then you plan for it 3 months from now, you're not going to have that same level of excitement in 3 months. So that's why I like to give myself the room and the flexibility to do some of those things now, because I get excited. And when I'm excited, I can get more done. I can put more energy into what I am doing. And it's just overall more fun for me. So definitely recommend it. I already covered this, but it helps you stay open to new opportunities, because someone might have dropped out of a summit and they might be posting in a group like, I just had a speaker drop out. Can someone speak on this topic? And if that is your topic and that sounds like a good fit for you, you can be like, yeah, me. Like I can. Hello. So that's another thing. And like I've mentioned, your systems can really help you take action and get all of this done efficiently. So I cannot stress it enough. Like if you want to be flexible with your planning, you absolutely have to have systems in place in order for you to be able to get it all done efficiently without stressing out, without burning out, without missing deadlines, without forgetting links, without forgetting to send out the email or publish that website or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Systems is going to be so important. It's going to be your backbone to actually being able to get these plans done and be able to get them done more strategically. We also want to make sure that it makes sense. And if we're just jumping on things really fast without actually taking time to think about it and see if it makes sense for a business, then it might not have been a good business decision. So systems really helps you kind of see all of that come together, and then helps you decide whether it's something that you should do or not. And if you decide to move forward with it, then all right, cool. It helps you get it done faster, easier and better. Those are the first steps to creating the steps that you want to take before you create content that sells, okay? If you are new to this podcast, I would absolutely love it if you follow the podcast. And then if you are enjoying what you hear, what you learn, what you're what you're listening to, then I would absolutely love and appreciate a rating and review. It really helps kind of give some of that social proof to new listeners that this is a show that they want to listen to, and it helps me get my message out there. So I would absolutely appreciate it if you could leave a rating and review. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about how to fit your long form content to support the promotional plans and to increase your sales. Thank you so much for listening to the Cheerful Productive Chats podcast with me, Lucy Reyes. To view the complete show notes and all the links mentioned in today's episode, visit cheerstoproductivity.com/66. And before you go, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so you know once the next productive chat is released. Talk soon, and cheers to your productivity and success.